The kids know you care. The kids know you're not giving up on them. I had a real conversation with my kids. I told them, y'all, I'm leaving. And they said, why? And I told them the truth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm talking with Lydia, an instructional designer who made the leap from the classroom to a whole new world. She's going to break down what instructional design actually is, what her day-to-day looks like, and how she made the transition. Whether you're just curious or seriously considering a change, there's a lot here that can help you figure out your next steps. Lydia, thanks for being here with us today.
Hey, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So, Lydia, tell us a little bit about instructional design. What is instructional design and what does your day-to-day typically look like?
This is a good question. Ma'am, do I know the definition myself? Y'all, I'm actually still trying to figure it out on the day to day. There are so many definitions that you'll see online. And so, what I want to say instructional design is helping adults learn better and do better at their job through building out training or creating learning experiences that have actual outcomes that impact the business. And I can give you that definition, but it's better with an example. So, for example, one of the roles that I had as an instructional designer was supporting a sales team. In order for the sales team to have an impact on the company, salespeople need to know how to properly build a funnel. Funnel are people that they captured in who want to buy our stuff. But in order for them to build a funnel, they need to know who are the proper businesses we need to talk to. What should we say to them? If they don't want our stuff, how do we bring them back and reel them in? All of those are opportunities for instructional designers to fill in those holes and gaps by identifying maybe we can fill this gap by creating a job aid or a Word document where people can reference it back to. Or maybe instead, we can create a module that they're able to walk through and do scenarios. And so that is what instructional design is.
Nice. So, what first drew you to instructional design just coming right out of teaching? Did you find some similarities to the field? Is that what drew you in, or has it been something that you've always wanted to do?
Ooh, this is a good question, man. I got into teaching because I liked learning and I liked helping kids learn. But keep in mind, the pillar is I really love learning and helping people learn. And so that's the similarity between instructional design and the classroom is I still get the fulfillment of knowing I am educating someone so that when they come into work, they feel more confident, they feel more prepared, and they feel empowered because they have the right training material. And so, with that similarity with teaching, that's what made me want to go into instructional design, but also more of the creative factor. Instructional design does require you to have some visual design skills and to understand UX and UI design, which I was already looking into, but it allows me to dive more into my creative endeavors because now I can think, ooh, what color profile do I want to make this photo? How do I want to explain these details? And what way can I do it in the most creative way? And so creativity and the love for learning is what moved me into instructional design from teaching.
Nice. And you mentioned going into instructional design and learning some UX and UI. Did you start taking courses like using LinkedIn Learning, or what were you doing to start learning that skill? So by the time you left teaching, you had some skills under your belt.
Good question. So when I was in teaching, I found a program called IDA. I put down a $5,000 investment. Y'all, that was how much money I had in my savings. So this meant I was taking a chance and I could not allow myself to fail because this needed to work. And by me joining that program, really applying the modules that they created and being able to practice on my own, joining learning communities like Tim Slade He's an instructional designer. Joining his e-learning community and seeing what other instruction designers are doing on the job also really helped me develop more of the skills and make me feel more confident in moving into the field. Because as a teacher, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can say this. It was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Things have changed. Um, Teachers were still joining the instructional design field, and there was some chatter on LinkedIn where some instructional designers did have negative things to say because they felt like teachers were not understanding that instructional design and teaching, they're the same, but they are different. And the main difference is that UX, that visual design, and really that adult learning. And so once you tap into that's the learning curve, you have all the other skills. You can manage your time, you know how to organize, you know how to deal with stakeholders. Parents are the hardest people to deal with. So if you're able to work with them and they trust you with their children, then doing it in a corporate setting should come with an ease and a peace of mind.
Nice. Okay, so you mentioned some of the resources that you use, but that $5,000 is a hefty price tag, Lydia. Anything that you did that was free, YouTube videos, LinkedIn Learning, something that wasn't
Yeah.
$5,000.
Yes, yes. And this is a good thing to point out. You do not need to pay money to be good at instructional design. And I will repeat that because you will find people on LinkedIn selling you $1 in a dream. And I don't want y'all to spend that dollar. For free sources, like I stated, Tim Slade, he has an e-learning community. On that community, he does a challenge where he puts up a document where he shares the visual assets that you should use, the color code, and exactly what the client needs and all the things you need to do as an instructional designer to create the course. That's free. You can practice that over time with the free trials. That will help you learn how to do instructional design. There's local chapters that you're able to join of instructional designers that will give you insight. LinkedIn Learning, they give you soft skills. I haven't looked too much into it for like harder skills for instructional design. And then the other free thing is just message someone on LinkedIn. Don't be scary. I would just message people. I messaged a woman named Nyla Cooper. She was doing really cool things in instructional design. And I said, hey, I love what you're doing. Is there a possibility that you could be my mentor? Could she be my mentor? Unfortunately, no, because she's busy with work. But she responded back and she provided me with resources. So I'm tapped into at least who she is in her network. So people are free. YouTube is free. Devlin Peck, he's a great resource. And then also the Idol Academy, that is now a vocational program. You can get a degree, but before you jump into the vocational program, they offer tons of free resources that you're able to use to help your feet get wet.
Okay, nice. So you mentioned a lot here, and it's really helpful that you mentioned some of those free resources and even the paid ones. People can really benefit from that. So you mentioned that instructional design and teaching can be similar, but there are things that are very different. But what are some of those skills that you already had in teaching from your teaching background that you were able to transition to instructional design? And you're like, this skill was very valuable. And on that same question, I guess that ties into what skills should somebody be trying to emphasize if they're going from teaching and trying to get into instructional design?
Ooh, you know what? This is a good question. Instructional design requires you to have the skill to know you need to think, is the information that's presented in front of me, what's the next appropriate thing to do with this material? So, as a teacher, a lot of the time, Our curriculum is given to us and they're telling us what we should do with the students. Some of us freestyle, some of us don't. In instructional design, no one is looking over your shoulder telling you you must do it in this way. So there's a lot more independence. And so the skill that I would practice is discernment, girl. And that could be a whole, come on, we might have to take you to church for that. Have discernment. Have discernment. Another skill I would say is project management in the real application of project management, such as using tools like Asana or Monday.com. Those project management tools help you know how to move through the different stages of building out of module. And as an educator, the stages we're mainly going through, I was an English teacher. Okay, we have, you write a draft, I give you feedback, you give me the final. Similar to instructional design, you make a draft for the subject matter experts, they give you feedback, you edit that, you give it back to them, but there's now other people you need to be in contact with. How are you keeping on top of that with those project management skills? And so that is a second one. And then, really, the last one that I would say is direct communication. Instructional design requires you to humble yourself. As a teacher, you stood in front of the classroom and knew you knew everything. Even though we shouldn't walk around with heads like that because none of us know everything. But some of us stood in that classroom and said, I'm the smartest person in here. But as an instructional designer, I'm receiving information. And the information I receive, I'm just revising and
Mhm.
then creating something from that, meaning I don't know anything. Y'all are telling me about funnels. I'm learning about data centers. That ain't got nothing to do with my real life. And so it's, but because I'm not in that world, if I'm holding on to the identity of I have to know everything, instructional design will be stressful. What I need to know is, does this material make sense? Why are you telling me this? What is the learner going to do with this material? How should the learner be able to perform once they're done walking through this module? What does success look like? That's what's important. And that comes from direct communication, asking the right questions, and not being afraid to tell them, yeah, I see that's what you want to do. And I love that you're sharing your opinion. And what is best for the learner is for us to go down this route and letting them know we have the common goal. And so, discernment, project management, and direct communication will take you far, not only in instructional design, y'all, but life.
In life, it'll help you put your life together quick.
Yes, immediately.
Thanks for sharing all of this. So you mentioned many of the skills, you mentioned some of the projects that you have to work on, but can you walk us through what a typical project would look like? I know you mentioned about having the learner meet the objectives and planning things and project management, but tell us how you put all these things together when you're working on a project. What, like, maybe in general, what does a typical project look like?
Yeah. So, depending on the company that you're at, it really does dictate what the timeline looks like for the instructional design team. Some people within higher ed, their project time lengths might be 6 to 8 weeks. At my current company, our time limit, we have about 6 weeks. And so, what that looks like is the first 2 weeks, I receive documentation from the subject matter experts, and they're like, hey, we want to build this course. This is the material that we have. The good things about subject matter experts, they're good at what they know, but instructional designers are better at knowing what the learner needs to understand. So now the next thing that I'm doing is I'm filtering through their material to see the verbs that you all gave me. Am I going to keep them or am I going to change them? Is the material in here, does it make sense, or does there need to be more context? I'm putting myself in the space of the learner, and so that allows me to start leaving comments so that those first 2 weeks, me and the SME are working together. They're answering my questions, I'm answering theirs, and that's just us trying to understand the material. After that week, after those 2 weeks, I'm then developing the module. They answered all my questions. I know exactly what I need to do. And so within that week of time, that's heads down. I'm using the material and translating it into different ways to showcase what is important within the module. Once that week is done, we jump into our user testing where the subject matter expert and myself walk through the module. I show them, hey, this is what I've created. They tell me, yeah, we like it, or hey, let's just make some small changes. I make those edits. Two of my peers review it. I make those edits based off of my peers. Once that's washed through, that last week, I work with our learning management systems team, and they end up uploading the module. And at the end of those 6 weeks, that population of learners, they now have a new module that they can take that will help them be better at their job. And the really cool thing at the current company that I'm at is they empower the employees to speak up if they notice anything is wrong within the module. So it's always good to release something and have learners share their feedback in real time, because then we're able to make edits that help them stay up to date and current with the information that they're seeing on the field. And so
Nice.
that's a day. That's what it looks like for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
So you in the beginning you mentioned that you're working with a subject matter expert or a SME.
Yeah.
SME, that's a cool word. Subject matter expert. So is this subject matter expert like a CEO of a company or a manager of a team, and they say, "Hey, our team needs some
Mm.
professional development. They need to do a course on communication." So then they reach out that manager, contracts your company or contracts the company's services and says, we need an instructional designer to create a course about communication for my team, and my team is made up of 10 people and they do this and they do that, and here's what some of their communication is like. Is that how it works?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so it's like at my current company, the instructional designers, we work with other companies to build out their training. So they're using us as like a vendor.
I
And so that company, they have managers, and those are the subject matter experts.
got it.
And it's
Got it.
like, we tell them our instructional design team has created an intake form where it's like, you must talk to the project manager, you must do all of these steps before it even gets in front of the ID, because an instructional designer's job is to use material and create training. The building everything else out, knowing what the material is, that's the job of the subject matter expert, because they know what they want. They have an idea of what they want the people to do. We're helping them get to the best point.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I
I
see.
like to use, like, I'm thinking of a metaphor right now, or not even a metaphor, just like an example where it's, if you're walking on a trail and there's no markings on on the trees, and you're like, okay, I think I'm going the right way, but instructional designers, they've marked the trees. And so when you're walking on the trail, you're like, I see the pink dot, I'm going to keep going because I know this is the right direction. We're pointing the SMEs, you know where you want to go, but we're helping you go to the right point, because we don't want the adult learners to get bored. We know adults at work, y'all. We've all done sat in a module. Come on. We done clicked through. We done got up. We done used the bathroom. We did our hair. We done it all. So it's like,
while the module was still playing in the background.
Right. So it's like, how do we keep people engaged?
Yes.
And still get them the material that they need. A lot of the stuff that we learn at work, it's not sexy, it's not fun.
Yeah.
But we can make it fun. It requires, though, an instructional designer who's passionate and who loves learning to bring it to life. And so if you are someone who loves to learn and you really like to bring people's passions alive and ultimately help people do better at their job, then be an instructional designer. If you like being in like a group and doing collaborative work, instructional design, it might feel a little lonely. But instead of doing instructional design, look into corporate trainers. Being a corporate trainer is similar to instructional design, but you're not building out the material. We're handing you the material, and you're now implementing it in front of a group of people. If you love talking in front of a group and you love that as a teacher, go down corporate training, go down instructional design. Both pathways are open and they're very similar. So don't feel stuck to anything. You are not trapped.
Yes, some teachers might feel like they're trapped and they're stuck to the classroom or in the classroom. So what advice or what can you tell folks who feel like they need to take the next step out of the classroom, but they're just like, I can't do it. I don't know what's next. I don't know how to even make this pivot. I feel like I'm letting down the students, feel like I'm quitting and giving up. Speak to them, Lydia.
That's good. That's good. And I felt all those emotions too. This is what I'll say. Sacrificing yourself for the sake of 30 kids does not get you a badge when you're 65 and retired and regretful. No one gets an award for struggling. No one gets a badge for staying in something they don't love. So don't stay in it. The guilt will get to you, but the kids know you care. The kids know you're not giving up on them. I had a real conversation with my kids. I told them, y'all, I'm leaving. And they said, why? And I told them the truth. It's stressful. Like, I love you all, and it's not you. But sometimes jobs are just, we try them out and we realize it's not a fit. And so I want you all to know it's okay to try something new. That's what I told them. And that's what you need to tell yourself. You are modeling to your students what it means to put yourself first. You are modeling to your students what perseverance and what learning actually looks like. It takes a lot of guts to say, I want to leave. So feel proud of yourself for getting there. The next step is now knowing you have 50% of the skill. The first skill is confidence. The second skill is knowing you can do research and put your brain, like, for real, use your brain. You're not silly. Like, that is really what I would say. You have the tools. Shake it out, shake the nerves out. Feel confident. You can do it. I will say the tool, Storyline, it's expensive. Camtasia is expensive. Rise, all of that. If you look at the price tag, you will think, I'm not sure if this is for me. Like we talked about in the beginning, look at the free resources, join communities, talk to people. Again, see what they're doing. You need a portfolio. You'll feel ready when you have all of what you need. And so the feeling, not feeling ready, is because you know you need to fill a gap. So just identify the gap and fill it. If the gap is having a portfolio, Find other instructional designers that have portfolios you like, send them a message. Google Sites is how I made my portfolio. That is free. Canva allows you to make websites. I don't know if it's free or not, but
It's free. They have a free option.
yeah, use Canva. Just start experimenting, but set a smart goal. Don't burn yourself out and just take it slow. It's not about quickly getting out of the classroom, it's about feeling confident and knowing that you're stepping into the right thing, not out of desperation, but out of abundance. They need you. You don't need them. You have the skill that they need filled. They're not doing you a favor by them hiring you. So remember that when you're looking at these jobs and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not qualified, you're more than qualified, because someone who's not qualified doesn't even think they're not qualified. So I'm telling you, you got what you need.
Lydia, I think they're encouraged. Sound like a coach. But no, that was good. I really love the point that you mentioned about when you are looking to go out into the field and you're applying for these jobs, know that the job needs you. They need the skills that you're bringing. So you're bringing something of value to these organizations. So don't just think I'm just a teacher. I'm just lucky that they're hiring me. I'm lucky that they're interviewing me. No, they've reached out to you and they're interviewing you because they see this great potential and they're like, we need to talk to you. We need to know more about you. So there's definitely value that's a part of it. So with all this and finding a job, trying to be in the market, what advice would you give to somebody just in general about finding a job? Like it's tough out there. It's tough out there. So you just transitioned, you just got another job in the last month here. So you know a thing or two about the active market and what is actually happening out there. So tell us a little bit about it.
So when it comes to the job market, just know one, it's not you. It really is the market. It is tough. I know a lot online, people talk about like the ATS system, how it's just like blocking people. That's just a bunch of noise. When you block out all the noise and static, you need to have a solid resume. Your resume tells a story of who you are. Keep it simple, keep it plain, keep it about the results and the outcome. And keep it to one page and a half. Another thing, I message recruiters. I'm on them. Like what do they say? Like white on rice? Yeah. Like butter on toast. I send in that application. I'm on that recruiter. Oh hey,
Immediately.
immediately. It's if I on LinkedIn, you'll see if the recruiter is attached. Shoot them a message. Some people get nervous and they think, am I able to? What if it comes off as a little bit aggressive? It's not aggressive to want a job.
That's
Shoot.
what I was about to say. You should be not maybe not aggressive, but desperate. You be like, some people think it's desperation. Oh, I've applied, then I'm reaching out to them, then I'm asking them questions, and no, it's okay. They know that people are out there and really wanting jobs and really want opportunities, and also know that recruiters are also desperate to get people in those positions. Some of them have quotas to hit. So
Exactly.
you're making it a little bit easier for them sometimes when you message them. They're like, oh, this person is a go-getter. Oh,
And that's how I got this job.
ooh.
I applied, I messaged the recruiter. That recruiter called me 2 days later. I talked to her. Within that following week, I had my interview with the hiring manager and the team member. That next week, my professional recommendations were read. I had the job. That is solely from messaging that recruiter and speaking up. This job I'm at had a requirement of 8 years experience. Y'all, I have 4. There are things on that job application for the roles and responsibilities. I did not have those skills. I don't know HTML5. And it's okay for me to say that because they're training me in it. But it's
Yeah.
like Some people may not apply because they say, I don't have the time or I don't have all the experience that they need. And it's like, but you have something. So
Yeah.
send them the message.
Yeah. And Lydia, those people saw a potential in you. They
Yes.
knew you probably came off to them as somebody who was a go-getter, who gets work done, who was open to learn, who was just going to be about the business. And they probably saw that and said, you know what? She doesn't have everything that we're looking for, but she seems coachable. She seems like she can take feedback. She seems like somebody who speaks up and asks questions and somebody who, who is going to fit in. So I think sometimes you might not have all the skills. You might not know it all. You might, like you said, the job says you have half the experience, but you're coachable. You're ready to learn. They can see that. You've put yourself out there, even just messaging that recruiter for you to even be bold enough to do that. And the quality of your message, I'm sure you didn't say, hi, I applied for the job, enter. I'm sure you didn't do that. A message that is in depth, that really shows that you've read the job description, you know a little bit about the company, you know what's going on, and they probably were able to sense that from what you wrote in that messaging to them.
Yes. And even within that message, I said, and this is me being bold, I tell them, I know I'm a good fit. Like I'm telling them, you all need me. Y'all, they're not getting job seekers like that. I'm telling you, they're not.
Yeah.
So
But
it's,
yeah, go on.
oh, no, go ahead, Amin.
No, I was gonna say, but how do you balance that? Some people might say they might think I'm rude and now I
Right.
really don't got a job. Or they might think I'm just not humble or I'm very cocky or whatever. I think I'm a know-it-all. What do you say to balance that or to help folks balance that perspective?
I like that. You know, what I really think, you have the audacity of our counterparts. That is, have audacity, be audacious. A lot of the time, people are in positions because they spoke up. It's not like they're the smartest. It's, they just, like you said, they're coachable. They rose to the occasion and said, I'm willing to speak up while other people are being silent. And so don't view it as desperate. I think it's like in my mind in the beginning, I did view it as maybe I'm desperate or they're going to think I'm doing too much. But then it's like, but I want them to know I have the skills and I want this job. Like, you should be applying to companies you actually want to work at. That's really the purpose. Don't be applying to jobs and sending messages to companies you don't really care for. I'm being bold to companies I really want to work for. I wanted to work for this company. They had a value saying, we focus on belonging. I work at companies where they have a good team culture. That is what I pulled out. That is what I said to the recruiter. That's what I kept bringing up in my interview. And that's currently what I see at the company. And so when you're applying, make sure that the message is genuine. Make sure that the recruiter you're reaching out to is a job that you really want. Because instead of feeling desperate, it feels like you're taking a chance on yourself. And it's, give yourself that opportunity to be bold. You deserve to be bold. So do it. The worst thing they're going to do is ignore you, okay? Send it to another recruiter.
Lydia, it's not something, look, it's not easy. Some people might feel like they don't like rejection.
No, and
That's
it's
the
true.
thing. Some people want to reach out, but they're like, if I think that these people are going to say no, or they're going to ignore me, or whatever, some people don't want to face the reality of that rejection. But I like what you said at the beginning. This job market is tough. It's not you, it's the market. I think if you don't remember anything, it's not you, it's the market. Because even if this recruiter doesn't respond to you or whatever, that recruiter can have 500 people who sent them a message. You're not going to be able to respond to everybody. It might be a matter of who sent the message within the first 2 days,
Exactly.
or your message just happened to come on day 5 instead of day 2. It might be a situation where the one person has maybe some advanced skill and that's just what the company just needs at that time. Maybe they don't have time to train somebody, but another company might say, oh, you don't have those skills, but it's fine. We have plenty of time to train you. But somebody else might be like, somebody just quit yesterday and we are just needing to replace this as soon as possible. So it's not that you're a bad fit, it's not that you don't have the skills or anything, but some companies just need different things at different times.
Exactly.
That's
They
it.
do. They need different things at different times. And I used to be afraid of sending messages and rejection, and it got me nowhere. So after a while, you have to get fed up of something. The fear of rejection, if that's what's holding you back, then I challenge you to face rejection in the eye and start small. It's better to be rejected by a recruiter than like publicly your card gets canceled and there's six people behind you and like the belt's full at the grocery store. That's more embarrassing. Publicly, it's publicly seen. And so that's the final thing I'm going to say to that, oh man.
All right, Lydia. I think you've given us plenty of information here today. Is there anything else that you have that you want to add to the end, or anything that you want to highlight finally?
That's why they want you at the job. You have the skill, you have the expertise. So just show up and be yourself. The right company will find you valuable. The right company will mentor you. The right company will open doors. If you don't see that, then you're not at the right company, and look for an opportunity to move, but enjoy what you do.
I love that. Enjoy what you do. Find some way to monetize what you like doing. Find a job where the things you like doing, the skills that you already have, and you're like, I absolutely love this stuff. Try to find a job where you can do that and you get paid to do it and you're having fun. This was a great. Thank you so much, Lydia, for coming and sharing some of your thoughts, some of your experience. This was really good. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, MM.
No problem at all. We'll see you the next time. So that's what I have for you today. Hopefully, you enjoyed our episode and learned a thing or two from our career conversation. I hope you'll join us for the next one. But until then, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more tips, guidance, and knowledge to help you in exploring your career opportunities. Until next time, I'm your host, Amen, signing off.